Now, one of you reached out to me and said, what are the various income sources you have? So I have multiple careers. I have a career with a proper corporate. I have a career in writing. I have a career in speaking on social media. So someone reached out and said, what are the various sources of money for you and how do you monetize all your various sources? So in this video, I'm going to talk about that. The way I make money to a certain extent, how much I make, and what you can do if you have multiple careers or multiple sources of money, or you want to build additional sources, what you should do. So, but before we start, do subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon so that the next time I make a video, you come to know about it straight away. Now, just to start, I have a primary job and that constitutes about 80% of my income, 75 to 80% of my total income. And there are various other sources which I'll talk about in writing, speaking, brand endorsements, which constitute about 20 to 25% of my total income. And as I keep going forward in the next few years, you will see the 20 to 25 will start increasing in share as a part of my total income. So my first source of income obviously is my job. It constitutes about 75 to 80% of my main income. I've been working for many years, and my only advice to you is, if you have multiple careers looking to build multiple revenue sources, do not give up your main job till all your other revenue sources are coming close to the amount of money you're making in the main job. You should consider giving up, if at all, only if all the other revenue sources that you have is coming close to your main job. My second source of income is revenue from writing. So for instance, I write books, I write for newspapers and magazines. So how much money do I make? So when I write for books, I've written for 3. My 4th book on storytelling is going to come out soon. I typically make 10%, and 10% is a very standard number of the price of the book. So for instance, if the price of my book is 300 rupees, typically on Amazon you will get a discount, so maybe the price of the book will be 250 rupees after discount. So I will get about 10% of that 250, which is 25 rupees, and for all the books, all the copies sold, this money keeps getting added. So that's how much I make from my book writing. The second source of writing is I write a lot of columns. I write for the Times of India, Fortune, ET, Forbes, all sorts of columns, and the way it works with them is you have a contract. You have a contract with these newspapers, and depending on the newspaper, your stature, certain rates are agreed upon. There's certain landing rates. You generally don't have room to negotiate. Now, I as an individual do not ghostwrite, meaning I do not write for another brand or I do not write for someone else. I'm fairly selfish that way, so what I write, it comes out in my name only. The next source of revenue for me is the revenue from speaking. So I speak at a lot of corporates, I speak at a lot of business schools. So how do I make money? So I get invited to speak at corporates, a lot of them, and typically the amount I charge is a function of the audience, depending on number of people, the seniority of the people, the duration of the talk, and that's how much I charge. It can move from 10,000 to a couple of lakhs depending on the range involved. In terms of business schools, I speak a lot of IITs, I speak at a lot of IIMs. With educational institutions, I generally don't negotiate. Whatever the landing rate is, they typically have an agreed rate. Some of the big institutes don't pay, some of the other institutes pay. So whatever their agreed upon rate is generally what I follow. Now, my fourth source of revenue is what I don't have as of now. I'm trying to build, as you're seeing, this is revenue from social media, primarily revenue from places like YouTube. So I am building my channel. I am going to monetize this in the next few months. And that money has not come in yet, but going forward, I want to build a source of ad revenue from YouTube that comes from that. The fifth source of revenue is honestly brand endorsements. I have a fairly sizable following on LinkedIn, so a lot of corporates approach me for writing posts for their kind of brands. Now, I just don't take up any brand. I actually see the fit with my own profile, my own belief structures, and then I do not copy paste someone else's message. I write it in my own language with the appropriate disclaimers. How much I charge for an endorsement depends, but if you are looking for a number, it's generally 50 to 75 paisa per follower. I think that's a guideline you should go with. It can depend on the number of posts, etc. But 50 to 75 paisa per follower is what you should follow as a ballpark. Now, my next source of revenue is also a lot of partnerships. So there are a lot of corporate platforms like Inside IIM, Upgrad, etc., which look for facilitators like us, and I do programs for them. So I give lectures on certain topics, on certain skills, on industry certifications, and depending on the topic involved, there's a certain amount of money that comes from that session. So if you are considering, you can start with MBA portals, career coaching portals, and forums which are important in your industry. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what am I considering? What other options I am actually considering. So I do mentorship. So I do 1:1 mentorship with people. That's actually my 7th source of revenue. So if you want to have a chat about your careers, if you want to have a chat about a dilemma, about your education, about finance, you can set up time with me and you can have a conversation with me on that. I also am considering a few outlines for next year. So one, I'm thinking of floating my own courses, whether it's on skill sets, whether on industry knowledge, maybe from next year. I've given a shot at NFT. I'm thinking about NFT, non-fungible tokens. So for instance, the first piece I ever wrote or the first video I ever shot, maybe I'm going to put it as an NFT. And the third source of revenue at some point I'm going to think about is merchandising, although I'm not the most fashionable guy, but maybe I'll give merchandising a shot. So this is something in the pipeline. So these are my various sources of income. Just to summarize again, my main job gives me about 75 to 80% of my income, and all the other revenue streams gives me about 20%. So what other revenue streams are you thinking about? Drop your comments in the comments box. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And before we finish the channel, do subscribe to the channel, click on the bell icon. Till next time, take care.